All in favor? Motion carries. All right, this time we're waiting on, Mr. Reddick to show up. Anybody want to entertain a recess for 10 minutes till he shows up?
Mr. Chairman, make a motion, we go into recess for 10 minutes or so, till Commissioner Reddick makes it.
Second. All in favor? We'll recess for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Can we chastise him?
Or until he shows up?
Chastise.
Until he shows up.
He needs chastising. Hey, do you have another agenda? I'll go get it.
Betty, how are you? You can't use the one at the post office?
Give me one too, I didn't get them.
And there's no better one than the one at the post office. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you.
We go back a long ways.
Yes, we did. We went to spend time over there last year.
Yes, we were.
How's Commissioner Casey?
Oh, we're doing all
Got enough sweat.
right. It's too hot for that.
So it is.
Here with Martin brought.
Okay.
Hey, Ms. Mitty,
How do you do?
I'm doing fantastic, and yourself?
Both,
Good.
both the ones done.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna find out right now.
Okay, so Mr. Red,
He's on his way, he called.
you know, there's not.
He went to get an agenda out in the hallway.
Okay,
What'd I do?
how we.
Got scared, right?
This can have no sign.
Scared, was.
This time, this be ready to go.
I do know that. Remember, I used to deal with you in the chamber. You don't remember? You don't remember? Yeah, but you used to do a lot with us. And then one time, my son, we did a race here in town, and my group was last. And my son actually backed up to help a handicapped run. Pretty cool. He still got that artery.
Well, I've been
Hey, Daniel, are you there?
There you go.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. We just wanted to check. We're about to get started in just 1 minute.
Yeah, this brings us to our first public comment section. We'll limit it to 3 minutes. Anybody wish to speak? Going once, going twice? All right, we'll start off with our only agenda item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing we do want to start out with, you have one of the green folders that you have is just, it's titled Loss Comparison. And speaking to a few of you, I think some of y'all kind of wanted to see some of the data from surrounding counties, not surrounding, but counties like-sized to Camden in population size. If you look at the one that is titled ACCG, so this encompasses the last 5 years of claims for auto and law enforcement liability for those 8 counties. So you'll see in the far left column, it'll say county 1 through 8. We do not have the county names or population numbers, but they are all like-sized counties close to us. If you look all the way over on the far right hand, you'll see the number of vehicles that they have insured. Camden only has 214 vehicles insured, so you can kind of see the differences. Obviously, the ones that have more vehicles are probably larger counties. Those that have less vehicles or maybe end up being smaller counties in population size. You'll see the claim count. Again, that's the claim count for the last 5 years. But then you'll also have to refer to this one, which is USI. This is our last 5 years of losses. So you'll have to kind of look back and forth on the two here. The first page is the auto losses. The second column there will show the total auto claims across, the county-wide. The next column is the sheriff's claims. A couple of the areas there are blank. This was actually put together from USI, so I think some of that information just unknown, whether it was at the sheriff's office or maybe another department. However, you can kind of look below, and I think 2018, you'll see 3 out of the 4 claims were sheriff, and then 2020, 7 out of 9, 21 was 9 out of 10, and just so forth. And then you'll see in the 4th or 5th column over, you'll see the total cost, which is almost 1.8 million. If you compare that total cost, what you'll have to do, ACCG ran their report a little differently than what USI did. This report from USI takes into account the auto liability and the auto physical. So you'd have to kind of add up the corresponding auto liability and auto physical from the other counties. I will just note though that if you took the 2 highest numbers on ACCGs, that adds up to 1.5. Ours is 1.8. And out of that 1.5, that's a jurisdiction that has over 100 more vehicles insured than what we have. So a lot more opportunity for risk and exposures than what we have. Any questions on the auto?
How many vehicles? We have 214.
214.
Thank you.
Any other questions on auto?
Do any of these other counties currently employ pit maneuver?
I'm not sure, but I believe that they are probably not pitting as much as we are. I don't know if they actually have like a no pit policy. I don't know that 100% sure or not.
Thank you.
You can actually look over, and you'll see some of like their largest incurred losses. So, some of those counties within the last 5 years, you'll see what their actual largest incurred loss is. I think one of ours was just over $1 million. And that was actually back in 2016. I don't have the actual figure, but.
You said this chart here includes liability and physical damage.
On auto, that's
Okay.
correct.
John, is it a fair question to ask you, what is your conclusion from this raw data?
I think just the immediate observation is that our claims are a lot higher than every other county with a like-sized jurisdiction. I think, our claims are exceedingly high.
Are you calculating that based on the claim count or the dollar?
Just the
value?
claim count. I think if you just look at the claim count, we're pretty high.
So I'm having a hard time, I guess, coming up with that. So for 2022, it says we had a total of 7 auto claims.
Let me go back to mine. Correct.
Okay. And this from ACCG is this 2022?
No, that's the last 5 years.
Oh, that's the last 5 years. Okay, I got you.
So, yeah, so you would have to look at the bottom figure there, that 53.
53, okay.
Yeah, and the closest to us is 47, but they also have 100 and almost 130 more vehicles insured than what we have. So you got 100, almost 130 more risks for accidents.
But the one that had, okay, county number 8 that has 47 liability claims, you got to
Mhm.
add the 44 physical
Right.
damage claims, right?
Correct.
Uh,
Well, so let me just say this. So even on ours, you would typically have, not always, but if there is physical damage, you would have 2 different lines that you would be insured for. You'd have physical and auto liability. So you'd have 2 separate claims is my point, but
Okay,
It could be,
they're all the same, right?
be
So,
one accident, but 2 claims.
right.
gotcha, okay.
You may have physical damage, you may not. But at the end of the day, you may be liable.
Right, okay. So,
The biggest difference is that ACCG has theirs broken out, whereas ours is consolidated.
right. So if you take 53 claims for the past 5 years for us and divide it over 214, that gives you a almost 25%. Well, hold on, let me do this. So that's per 100 vehicles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, 53.
It'd be about a 2.5% accident per 100 is what I'm thinking.
Let's see.
Actually, maybe I'm not doing that right.
Three.
Well, it looks like the highest one on the ACCG is, 8% as far as per 100 vehicles.
Mhm.
For the physical damage.
Yeah, for physical damage, yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so if you take out the 100 vehicles and just kind of do away with that and they had 47 claims over 340 vehicles, and that's what, like 1.5% of their fleet? Or no, no, that'd be 13.8%.
Well, a lot of it has to do with your dollar per claim. So just depending upon the accident, I think the biggest issue for us is that every time we either wreck a vehicle or, specifically
Right.
law enforcement, we're potentially looking at replacing a $80,000 Tahoe plus,
Yeah.
any other damage that we may incur for parties that we've either hit or injured or what
Yeah.
have you. Because, we're talking about going to a new policy. So with that new policy, it's a $350,000 deductible
Mhm.
for auto liability and $25,000 deductible for auto physical,
Yeah.
1,400% increase.
which I think
Yeah.
right now, Lance, we're at $5,000.
It's $5,000 for vehicles, $20,000 or greater, $2,500 for a vehicle less than $40,000.
I was thinking about our $25,000 deductible.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's on LEL. That's on law enforcement liability.
That's a
That's going up,
1,400.
it's going up to 250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes up 250,000 from 25,000. That's 1,000% increase. All right.
Mhm.
It's 10 times.
Yeah.
So, and another way to look at it, I mean, roughly county number 8 has a claim, has one claim per 7 vehicles. We're having one claim per 4 vehicles. So it's almost double the claim rate.
Yeah.
But you gotta look at what it cost them too, and what it's costing us.
Mhm.
What it's costing us seems to be a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you were gonna do anything, again, just going back, we've got 214 vehicles we insured. If you look at county number 3 on the automobile liability, they got 239 they're insuring, which is relatively close to where we're at. They've only had 11 claims and incurred in that 5 years. If you add the 93 and the 318, I mean, they're basically at 400,000 where we're at almost 1.8.
0.8 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big difference.
Huge.
Sean, which of these 8 counties, if you can do this without breaching confidentiality, which of them has Interstate 95 or?
I'm not aware, sir. ACCG couldn't give me
I
those
got you.
details.
So I'm just wondering if our quote attractive nuisance is not the fact that we are the gateway from, cars coming from Florida, running hot and heavy for various nefarious reasons, and we've got this inviting superhighway running through us, and we're determined to stop them. Whereas some inland county without the interstate doesn't have the opportunity for higher risk, high-speed chases and pit maneuvers and that kind of thing.
I think a lot of it's just risk and what
Risk, rather than attractive risk.
risk and what, outweighs, potential loss of, vehicles and injury.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, we could have higher exposure levels, due to the interstate corridor running through our county.
Well, and there's this mentality about let's, break for the state line and, thinking that that's going to offer them immunity if they don't know what the reputation is here, but that's the wrong thing to do. I have mixed emotions. I'll tell you, I'm sometimes very proud that we stop them. But can we afford to continue doing it is the question that I would ask.
Well, at this rate, if we keep going and we keep getting more and more claims, say we get half as many claims are added to what we've got now, we can't sustain it.
Succinctly stated.
Any other questions on auto? The next page is malpractice, which is what MP stands for, and law enforcement liability. So if you look, you'll have to compare the bottom table there from ACCG, again, counties 1 through 8, and then you'll have to compare the bottom numbers for us for that last 5-year period. But countywide, the county had 39 claims, and out of the sheriff's office, there was 33 claims out of those 39. The closest one to us, claim-wise, would be County 2, which only had 24 claims. However, their incurred total was only 164,000, whereas our incurred total would actually be the $2.3 million figure. The 998 is just paid to date. That's not actually incurred.
Do we know if the same thing has happened with that calculation for these counties? Like, did they have incurred expenses that could be not paid or?
No, so this incurred, so like if you're looking at the third column or the incurred total on ACCG, this is what they anticipate paying out.
Okay.
So our incurred total was 2.3. The next closest to us is they've had 18 claims, but their incurred total is 1,051,000.
Okay.
We're over 2 times higher than that.
And it seems to be pretty close per claim. There's just almost double the claims there, or just over double.
Mm-hmm. A lot of this just depends upon the severity of the claim.
Sure.
Some of these, I mean, I don't know about these counties, whether any of these are related to 1983 claims, but if you do get one of those or have some of those, then, just depending upon what is either settled or if there are any judgments, that blows away your limits.
Can you explain what a 1983 claim is for the public?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. It's civil rights violations, any type of civil rights violations.
So that could be a federal claim.
Yes, sir. It would be federal at that time.
Mr. Chairman, it's John Myers. That is a federal claim. It's 42 USC 1983, and it is an excessive force and law enforcement claim. Violation of civil rights.
Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Again, this was just to provide the commission with just some comparisons to other counties. I know that was something that you all were hoping to see as far as a claim.
It'd be nice to know which 8 counties these are.
They can't share that. I've asked. They can't share it.
Yep.
And I understand why.
Oh, yeah.
The next packets, which is where Daniel will come in and potentially Lance as well, and Nancy in the event there's just depending upon what questions the board has. The 2 proposals, there's a $1 million policy limit and then a $2 million policy limit proposal. The biggest distinction between these two is just the policy limit itself. Obviously, with the $1 million limit, there would be a premium reduction in cost. However, USI is recommending the $2 million policy limit, and I'll let Daniel kind of explain the main reasoning for that. A lot of it has to do with the umbrella coverage that we had from travelers, and then the lines of coverage that we have here in front of you today does not include an umbrella, which is why they're recommending the $2 million policy limit. Daniel, are you on the line? Do you want to kind of run through what's changed for the board?
John, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right, good. Yeah, just kind of taking me off of mute. But anyway, so yeah, in terms of what we currently have with Travelers, we currently have $1 million primary on
You're cutting in and out.
auto G.
Daniel.
Yeah, unfortunately, the system is doing that to me.
Okay.
I don't know if it would be better if you would have them call me on my cell phone, and then that way I'm not patched in where it's cutting in and out like that. I can keep talking, and then if it cuts in and out, that's what's going on.
Yeah, we can hear you good. We can hear you good now.
Okay. All right. So the again, because now with Travelers, we've got $1 million primary GL, law enforcement legal liability, auto liability, and public officials liability. So essentially across the board, we've got $1 million limits on those policies, and then we've got a separate $1 million umbrella limit. Umbrella policy, because their policy is different from the perspective of, obviously, you see you've got the tensions, and they write a policy where all the coverage forms on one policy, and million or more limits. Now, we did get you the option for one, because that was something y'all asked for and just want to have for comparison purposes. So that is certainly there. And I know, obviously, Kinsale, who is the option on the law enforcement legal piece, is given a $1 million and a $2 million option as well. And of course, the $2 million is significantly more in terms of the premium.
Are
Yeah,
you there?
you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It went quiet there for a little while.
Okay. Did you hear what?
It's cutting in and out bad.
Yeah.
Can you call him and put him on speakerphone?
Yeah, I can.
Sean's gonna call him. Could y'all maybe mute him? Or it doesn't revert?
Lance, what's his direct number? I think I've just got his office. What's his direct?
Hey, Sean, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now, but it's still cutting in and out. What's his direct, Lance?
His direct number, sir, is 912-529-7910.
No, it's 429.
Oh, I'm sorry, 429-7910.
7910. All right. I'm calling you now, Daniel.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Bye. On.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, that's much better. Yeah, it was cutting in and out. It kept saying mute, and now you're unmuted. Mute, now you're unmuted.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it was doing that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so anyway, I don't know how far along I was, so you want me to just kind of go through the whole thing again?
Yeah, it'd probably be best. Yeah.
So currently with Travelers, and historically, since we were involved in 2016, there has been separate policies for the auto, the general liability, the law enforcement liability, and the combination public officials and employment practices liability of a $1 million limit. And then we had an umbrella policy that provided an additional $1 million over all of those individual $1 million limit. Okay. Now on the Safety National program, they do not write umbrella policies. They just write higher limit policies. But a very distinct difference with Safety National is they also write all of those coverages on one policy. So you've got your general liability, your auto liability, your public officials liability, and your employment practices liability all on one policy with a $2 million limit option. And then I know y'all asked for it. I know they quoted a $1 million option. And then separate from that, is the Kinsale law enforcement liability option, which, from discussions we've had is more attractive because the retention is $250,000 per claim versus $750,000 per claim. And Kinsale has offered a $1 million option plus a $2 million option on the law enforcement legal as well.
And Daniel, I think the biggest difference between the $1 million limit versus the $2 million limit, I think for us, it was about a $281,000 premium difference.
Okay.
242, excuse me, 242.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yes, and that's for your additional $1 million in coverage in regards to all of the coverages I just mentioned. Is that the question?
That's correct.
Yeah, so that is exactly what that is for. And of course, if you have a claim that's $2 million, then, you're going to need the limit. If you never have a claim that goes above $1 million, well, you didn't need the limit. But the size of claims is certainly continuing to increase, escalate, and, the sovereign immunity cap, 750, is still intact. However, if it does become a 1983 federal claim, like was just discussed, the cap does not apply.
How many of our claims have been 1983 claims versus just a normal claim?
There's been a few of them.
Like
I don't know the exact number, but
3 or 4 maybe, or
Claims off the top of my head have been 1983, but almost every LEL claim that comes from the jail, civil rights have allegedly been violated. And Travelers is normally assigned an attorney, and the attorney has done what they could to go ahead and get summary judgment on claims of that nature. And we've been successful up to this point with those type of issues. That does not negate any kind of excessive force, but it does, protect us from the 1983.
Commissioner Reddick, this is John Myers. Virtually all the claims, as Lance indicated, from the jail are 1983 claims. Pit maneuvers also can be construed to be 1983 claims if it is deemed that that is excessive force for the circumstances.
okay, thank you.
Daniel, can you kind of talk about just the main difference for auto and LEL, specifically regarding deductibles?
When you say the main difference in comparison to what you previously had,
Correct.
yeah, so your previous deductible on the auto, there was no liability deductible, and now that number's become $350,000. On the law enforcement, it was $15,000, and now that number's become $250,000.
It was 25,000 and now it's 250.
Okay.
We had 15,000 last year and then it got bumped up to 25 and now it's going to 250.
On the LEL, okay,
Yeah,
right.
that's right. Yeah.
But the auto liability is going to 350 proposed
per occurrence,
Wow.
per claim.
So, essentially most common fender benders were going to come out of pocket for all that.
Absolutely.
Not,
Yeah. The physical damage deductible is 25,000.
Okay.
You'll see that on the $2 million limit. I think it's page 23. That's where you'll see the auto. Scott, I don't know if you're able to show that on the screen here. If you can go to page 23.
Okay, yeah.
2 or the 1?
2. Should be the same for both, but. And we have confirmed that under the symbols, that this would cover all of our vehicles, including any that are leased.
Least.
And then the LEL, trying to remember what page it was on. I think it might be a page before.
Yes, 21.
22 is, LEL. And you'll see that's from Kinsale. That's not Safety National. Safety National will be general liability, auto liability, employment practices, and public officials. Kinsale would be LEL.
The other night, we were talking about Safety National, and that was gonna be 750,000.
That's correct. That's what we were thinking the other night, but Kinsale came through and the retention or deductible is $250,000 per claim,
But still, 10 times what it is now.
10 times what it is now. And as John,
Basically,
go ahead, sir.
so basically what we gotta decide tonight is whether we go with the 1 million limit or the 2 million limit.
Yes, sir. USI is recommending the 2 million, and I agree, mainly due to the fact that you don't have that umbrella coverage. And we have been hit with 1983s. Fortunately, they've all settled quickly, but if you do get hit with one of those, then
What page was the liability on?
law enforcement liability is on page 22.
And Sean, let me interject something quick, just from the perspective of, I know the commissioners might not be familiar with the way we're compensated. We do not make any more money whether you take the 1 million to 2 million. We are paid on a consulting fee basis. So, we don't have any vested interest in saying, 2 million is more premium, we get more commission. That does not exist.
Good to know.
Also, commissioners, when I met with ACCG on Wednesday, even though they elected not to insure us, they also recommended that a $2 million limit would be their suggestion as well.
Yeah.
Based on our exposure.
And they've worked with, actually, Safety National. They actually use Safety National, ACCG does, and I know that they've recommended them. They say they're a good company, and I think, Daniel, I think y'all have had some experience with Kinsale as well.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned the other night, but just for anybody who might not have been there, I've had the city of Savannah and Chatham County insured with Safety National in both instances for well over a decade. And and they specialize in municipalities. That's what this program was started to do. It's structured for municipalities.
I got any more questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What will they do to, try to help us get it down next year?
Essentially, I wouldn't foresee premiums being reduced because the nature of the business is they go up every year with insurance. If we have successful years and we limit our claims, we could see a reduction in the deductible. But typically speaking, even next year, if we throw out numbers again to try to get other carriers, they go back anywhere between 5 and 7 years. So, our history as a norm, these last year or two are going to stay with us for an additional 3 to 4 years. So the clock starts ticking now to reduce the claims and control the exposure going forward. So this would be, a long-term goal to get things back down close to where they have been.
And the lease vehicles, are they involved in this?
They are covered in this. We add them to our schedule every year, and we did validate on a call earlier that the lease vehicles have the exact same coverage as what our county-owned vehicles have.
Okay. And that would be considered hired vehicles? And then I read something about non-owned vehicles as well.
No, they are considered our vehicles because we put them on our schedule.
Okay.
So every time the county purchases a vehicle or surpluses one, finance lets me know, and I either add or I remove. The jail has done the same. Whenever there's a vehicle that they add or they remove, the jail lets me know, or I'm sorry, the sheriff's office lets me know, and we do that.
That's
So we
either,
treat them as a normal vehicle.
that's either a leased vehicle or one we purchased outright.
That is correct.
The symbols, you've got the one which says any auto, and two, which is owned autos only.
Yes, sir, and that's what we validated, that a lease vehicle is considered on our schedule. It is our vehicle.
If we don't have it on the schedule, then that would be an issue.
Well, here's the thing though. So symbol one, any auto means any auto that was used, you know, whether it's owned, hired, leased, whatever, that Camden County gets sued from a liability perspective for. Symbol two, when you're getting into physical damage coverage, they're covering all owned vehicles.
But on here,
Okay.
the liability deductible is $350 on one, 25,000 on two. Am I
That's-
right?
Yeah, so the 350 is for liability per occurrence. The $25,000 for physical damage.
Any more questions?
Let me maybe try and shed some light on that. So if we decide we're going to do a pit maneuver and we get sued, we got a $350,000 deductible for the liability of that. And if we tear up our police car, we got a $25,000 deductible for that.
So 375 actually.
Correct.
Well, at any rate, we're stuck between,
Yep.
thinking a 1 million limit or a 2 million limit. I say we go for the 2 million limit.
I would second that, Mr. Chairman.
Any more discussion? All in favor for 2 million limit? Motion passes for 2 million limit on the insurance coverage.
Daniel, did you hear that?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
That's what we'll need the binders for. So we appreciate all your help and thank you, commissioners, for making this really hasty decision. Hated to get all this to you at the last minute, but I think that's kind of what's happening. I think Daniel's seeing that across the board for several of his clients.
Yeah, this is my last one. I've got others that we still got to deal with, unfortunately.
Will this be effective
It's
tomorrow?
just the way it is right now.
Midnight tonight.
Well, thank you so much,
I'll
Daniel.
get with her and we can down right now.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Claims to sign, and fax them back to her and bring up. Travelers goes out at midnight, they pick up at midnight.
All right, this time, this brings us to our last public comment section. Anybody wish to speak from the public? Limit you to 3 minutes, Terry.
All righty. I'm Terry Keller from the great city of Kingsland. And my idea, and a lot of other people's, I would say, is, I mean, I love police. I love our sheriffs, our Kingsland Police, St. Mary's. And, but I think a little bit of, especially in the sheriff's office, training is needed to deal with the prisoners. I think some of the sheriff assistants, they are a little bit young and they don't know how to act all the time. And so the training is needed. And I was wondering if we could look into the best practices from other places in training and also maybe out on the road. But that's something that we need to research and plan and follow up on for training that's going to bring our claims down. And that's what we want to do because that's going to lower our insurance prices in the future. But thanks you guys for all you're doing. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?